Hello, hello, hello. I hope everyone's doing really well. Sorry, my microphone is all the way over there. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. I'm so excited to be here for the 8th house. If you're here for the 8th house, you're in the right place. If you're looking for the 7th house, that was last week's video. So, that being said, I really want to get started right away. So if you actually have any questions regarding about who I am, how I practice, I have a video dedicated to this specifically. I'm just the type of person who wants to get right into things right away. And today is going to be the 8th house, and I call it the transformational house. So that being said, we want to look at what is the 8th house all about. We go along with the 6th and the 12th house. We're going to be talking about that later on. We already talked about the 6th house. But, the 8th house sounds like always in Vedic astrology, a lot of people are like, well, this is a really not a strong house. This is a very scary house. I think my personal belief, this is a house of transformation. It's about birth, death, rebirth, start, stop, renew. So that's what I really believe in, that there is no really bad house. It's just how you perceive it in this world. So the 8th house in Vedic astrology rules over death, longevity, which is great. Longevity is great, right? Mental health is another one. It also directs upon lifespan. And we talk about, how it could be natural, peaceful, accidental situation, like, I don't want to call it crisis, but it could be like just incidents. You can see things like suicide, violence, or due to chronic illness. 8th house is really allows you to rebirth yourself. You go through this trauma in life. How do you get out of it? You become a really new person. You go through this hardship, emotional distress situation in life, and you have to learn how to renew yourself from that situation, unless you want to be in the victim mode, and that's not always that great, to be honest with you. It's also the house of transformation of mysteries. It also brings depression, defamed, delayed, dissatisfactions, and sometimes I tend to do that quite a bit. But hopefully, if you're studying for astrology or trying to learn this as a new thing, that's a great opportunity for you to do that. Okay. So hopefully there's no more air. That might be an 8th house. Really, it's actually a 3rd house issue. So let's really walk down things that we can actually break down what it really represents. So we talk about lifespan, longevity, death, and this is where it is. A legacy is really important. Inheritance is really important as well. I really feel like this is where the 8th house really comes about. So that being said, the house convey whether it's a natural death or unnatural, which is all been shown in the 8th house as well. And let's get right into prajna claw, cavity claw. Okay. I wrote these long notes, and sometimes I'm just like, all right, where do we start? Okay, so we can talk about activity. So, really the 8th house is about being afraid of losing things. And that's just really the number one thing, is anything I have to sum up. Those are what we fear in general. It could be a killer and things like that, or scary things that happens in life. Those that we can't control. Astrologer or hypnosis or therapist or insurance agency are all in this area of just helping you to figure this part out. So activities, it's such as anything like insecurity, or you're facing like life deeper mysteries of 8th house. So hypnosis, it would be one of them, counseling, Exoticism, transformation works in any type related to the eighth house, and could be death, like, as well. Environmental are like monetary, graveyard, bankruptcy court, disaster zones and drunken dark places, the counselor, psychics, astrologer's office. Objects are like weapons or something that is dangerous, or tarot card, astrology chart, insurance policy, inheriting money from your significant other. It could also, this is a money of resources as well. So that means your other's partnership income, or it could be income or just resources, your partner's resources. So that could be their house, anything materialized. And so it's not all that bad. So we talked about planetary indicates are like Saturn, 8th house, because it shows show of loss that needs to take things seriously and be careful of it. So general explanation, I really want to express that it's like hidden or shock or any scandal exemptions, unlike any events in your life. So this is like abnormal events. So it's very rare that we go through incidents of things like that. I think there's one thing that I have learned through the 8th house is you have to go through some sort of humiliation of some sort in your life if you have a lot of planets there, and it's going to rebirth you. You're going to have a new identity, though your old identity is going to like diminish, it's going to be gone, and you have to rebirth yourself. So that's a lot of transformation that actually happens here in the 8th house. And people do come to me a lot in this area because I'm like, they're experiencing something going on with their 8th house. And, and I understand that because I have a planet there. And it is kind of scary for sure. It's definitely scary. You don't feel like you have control in this area. But what's really is important is the freedom of allowing transformation. Like whatever is happening in this world, no matter what's going to happen, you have to just tell yourself you're going to be okay. And you have to do it over and over and times again. And things are going to be difficult, and that's just part of life. Life can be cruel sometimes, but there's always a rewarding opportunity if you allow yourself to transform yourself in a positive way. So you're going to go through something negative and you're going to survive this, and whatever lesson that you need to learn, you allow to take that lesson, reflect on it, and get the support. So the 8th house is really about what I call partnership resource. Don't do it by yourself. Get support. Get a therapist, a counselor, a hypnosis. Yes, you can get an astrologer. Yes, you can have help. An astrologer can help you go through there and reassure you what might be going on with you and allow you to face it. But, it's just part of karma. We're just human beings. And just remember that there are certain things that we need to learn, and we have to overcome certain things as well. So release us with attachment in one way. So if we hold things really tightly, we tend to get hurt. And we just have to allow things to move as the wind go, or as the water go. And it could be very painful at a certain time, but just really take a deep breath. And mistakes happen, darkness, secrets, and things like that do appear. But getting how I really overcome this, or anybody who's going through the 8th house, is really get a really strong support team that feels like home. So, we talk about the 4th house, and it has to feel like home. So when you feel like you're at home, you're going to feel safe, and you got to be in that place and that mindset to reach out for help, and whoever that could be. But be really resourceful as well. And if you're definitely coachable, go to an astrologer. If you don't choose me, there's many astrologers out there, or many astrology friends out there that want to help you. If that's really something that you're interested, I can happy to refer that to you as well. So, and that being said, the 8th house really show how we grow in our life. So personal philosophy could be one of them as well, and it shows how mature we are around death and losing things as well. So the maturity around relationship really shadows the issues that arise, such as jealousy or even fear sometimes. And so vulnerability is a big factor, and allow yourself to be vulnerable. For instance, lying and you know, really that's where it is. Allow yourself to be educated. How do you overcome this? And you will overcome it. You cannot hide it. The most dangerous things that you can do is hurting yourself. That's mean like doing drugs or alcohol, and really get yourself in that dark place. And you don't need to be in that place, and you have a choice. I'm just letting you know, if you're watching my video, and I'm putting out a message for you that you do have a choice. So, you know, exactly how you respond to illusional things as well, like partnership could wear off, illusion of other people saving you wear off. The questions really answer about the eighth house. When it comes to evolutional things we can talk about is for avoidance, deny, even efforts of to control our fear, to emotional or child mistakes or obsession we have over them, to really measure up realistic exploration that needs to be penetrating, and even wisdom, insights that actually happens here. You know, the evolution process of the eighth house also affects every other planet. So, you know, if we want to talk about, I don't want to talk about so much about the planets, but we can talk about specific what the planet could represent, and that if you have your sun there, that could be, you know, we talk about goals, and your identity really is, number one is if you're going through the eighth house and you have some sort of goals that you have that you want to unfold, or your identity, this really happens a lot. You need to really roll it off your back. And this is really interesting. This makes a lot of interest in, you know, pursuing even the nature of mindset or even psychology. You would be interested more in the psychology as well. So really, that's really the deep factor that happens there. If you're going through like what I call an emotion that really has a lot of ups and downs and fears and mind, and you know, I meet people all the time who has certain fears, and that's going to show up quite a bit. What's going to happen, like losing things and how you react certain things, and allow yourself to be, if you're emotionally triggered or have anxiety, that just really happens a lot in the eighth house. There's a lot of fear because you try to control it so much, and sometimes that's not always the case. Allow yourself to be control, you know, and you're, when you are emotionally triggered, like could be difficult relationship with the mother, or a difficult relationship with other people. It all shows up in here as well. So really, like the eighth house, if you have like a strong willpower, you know, we're talking like martial power here, you know, you can act really reckless as time as go by. But the positive, you know, you really have no fear. You just go through it. You're going to be great being competitive in sports and things like that. If you have that martial, like really energy in there, that's really fiery, by the way. And when we talked about like communication or being friendliness or how you think and stuff like that, it's like really interesting a place. If you're a writer, if you have an eighth house, you really can talk about pain, psychology, and even scary books or movies and stuff like that. You really have that intellectual mind. For myself, I don't like scary movies, but if you can go with that and you're more interested in learning the occult study, such as like maybe Vedic astrology, or it's just something like a taboo that might be curious, makes you more curious. It's really interesting in this, like a lot of writers in this area really has that, what do you call, like taboo writing style or darkness of writing style. It's because they really can allow themselves to be in that position, or allow yourself to imagine it, what that might feel. So, which is a really great thing if you're a writer, and especially if you want to really tap into somebody's emotion there. Another factor is, you know, we talked about as well, like ethical or like religion, or anything that you are wanting to have a higher philosophy. I think this is really great for philosophy, deep private nature. So like astrology could be definitely one of them for sure. How you love in the 8th house is a really interesting as well, because you're going to lose love. You know, many factors. You're going to have really deep passion love, and sometimes the love will really transform you as well. You know, the hard part about this, you could be facing, you could be definitely a sexual healer in this area if that's something that really gravitates to you, or you have really, what do you call it, you know, not a very good relationship with like your opposite sex. It could be very abusive. It has, you know, it has a harder time of healing that love, or you just like, you know, taboo stuff in the bedroom. You know, you might like the red room and stuff like that. So it's just very different for everyone in this area. So definitely, if you have, you know, the way that you love is going to show up here as well if you have a planet based on that. Oh God, and let's talk about boundaries and scariness and really confrontation and caution. This is what it really is. It really allow yourself, if you have a planet that is really like avoid problems or confrontation and don't want to talk about it, and this is really where it is. Allow yourself just not fear for change. So there's a planet here, which I call it the Super Saturn here. And if you're really in an area of fearing for challenge and scares, this is where it really happens. So, and that kind of varies from what it really is. So, and just know that this is, I feel like the real 8th house has to do with a lot with your feeling, how you think, and how you really, what are your fears? And that's what really I have to ask to overcome this question. I know a lot of you are interested in Vedic astrology or have a desire to have a better understanding. If you can't afford an astrologer or for a reading for whatever reason, I just want to pique your interest, and maybe you want to learn a little bit more about your house. And I have a couple questions maybe that you can answer that without an astrologer answering for you, and that's what it is. So what is the one thing that you have a fear of, and what is that thing that you can't overcome, or you have really challenging time that just keeps popping up over and over again? And that might has a lot of effect, not specifically for the 8th house, but just overall in general. You know, do you have a fear of death? Do you have fear of losing people in your family? You know, does your spouse doesn't have any resources? Things like that. Do you really have different, like, what do you call it, unnatural sexual desires? That's a little bit different. Do you go through a lot of incidents in your life? Have you gone through anything close to suicide, or even chronic illness, or even like, you know, violence that actually happens in your life? That could be a factor as well. Did you actually inherit money is another factor. So are you interested in like phenomenon studies, so mystical studies, or anthropology, or not anthropology, but what's the study called? Just mystical or science fiction. You like science fiction books, and or you're like a great writer when it comes to emotional trauma, understanding what it feels like. Psychology, science, deep mathematics is another possibility as well. And just remember that whatever is happening into you in this world, allow yourself to really embrace the transformation that actually happens. And it's really important not only to do that, but just reward yourself that you're just a human being and you're just here to do that. And that being said, I want to conclude everything that we talked today. And we're going to be talking about the 9th house. And the 9th house is such an important house when it comes to higher fame and everything else. So I'm going to say that. I'm not going to say any more. And I'll see you guys next week. I'll see you then. Bye now.